Hi everybody, Dr. Bingham here. Today we're going to be talking about whiplash and some of the things you can do to prevent being injured in a rear-end collision. Uh, Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot we can do about people that may be driving not paying attention, talking on their phone, texting, whatever it may be. Uh, Injuries are inevitable. We hear about them every day. We do treat a number of them in our office here, but there are some things you can do if you are in an accident or you can see an accident coming that will prevent you from having more injuries. So before we get into that, I want to talk to you a little bit about the statistics associated with whiplash. Each year, about 3 million people in the U.S. suffer from whiplash injury. And the chance of injury if you're in a rear-end collision is about 33%, and about half of the people that are injured in those accidents will have long-term symptoms of some degree, and about 10% will become disabled. So this is a big health issue, something that gets overlooked, but we're seeing now, even with new research, that whiplash injuries can affect things we never thought possible, things from allergy, breathing disorders, low back pain, even hypertension, cardiac and digestive disorders. So this is a big issue, and there's some real simple things you can do to prevent any injuries in the future. So we'll talk about those, beginning with looking at your head restraint. So we've got two people on the right-hand side here. At the bottom, we're going to look at how we measure where your headrest should be. So there's two measurements. The first one is the top set. That's the distance from the top of your head to the headrest itself. The second one that we're going to look at is the back set. That's the distance between the back of your head and the headrest. Now, if we look at the two different examples, the top one is our good geometry. The bottom one is our bad geometry. So in this situation, we want to make sure that our head is as close as possible to that headrest, and also that it's high enough up that's just below the top of our head. The reason for that, in that lower example, the bad geometry, what we see a lot of times is this headrest becomes a fulcrum for the neck and actually allows the head to kind of be thrown back farther than it would be in a situation like this. And now we have some videos that I'm going to show here in just a moment that'll demonstrate how much impact a person experiences when they have the bad geometry versus the good geometry. Unfortunately, about 80% of drivers don't properly adjust their head restraints. So it's something to consider. It's a real easy thing to check. You can have somebody look at it. I'd be happy to, if you came in the office here and say, hey, what do you think about my headrest? Be happy to take a look at that for you. So we're going to look at this guy here on the left-hand side to begin with. Now, this right here is his headrest, and you can see the distance from the top of his head down, and also the distance from the headrest to the back of the head. And we're going to watch what happens when he's struck from behind. This is a relatively slow impact, and it's less than 10 miles an hour, something that's pretty common to be seen with a rear-end collision. So we're going to go through and watch how much force is thrown as he gets thrown back in this 10-mile-an-hour collision. So you can see as his head is thrown back, the important thing to remember is this is all happening within milliseconds. And obviously we've slowed it down quite a bit here. Now if we look on the right-hand side here, we've got the woman sitting. She's got the proper geometry here. She's got a higher headrest. It's also right behind her head. Very little distance between those two. And a similar speed collision. And we'll look at this and see the difference. So obviously a significant amount of difference between the two. And this is something that's so simple but yet so important to do. So here we're going to look at kind of the same thing, but we're going to look at the dummies. And we can see the difference here. Let's slow this down. We've got a 2003 Pontiac Grand Am and a 2002 Ford Windstar. At the beginning of this impact, you can see this person's already protected with the headrest, but there's quite a significant amount of distance between the head of the dummy on the bottom with the Ford Windstar versus the head of the dummy on the top here. So let's go ahead and play this through, and then we'll stop that again. Look at the extension of the neck versus what we're seeing up here. Huge difference between those two. So, like we said, there's not much you can do to prevent someone from actually hitting you from behind. But what you can do is make sure that your headrest is there to support you, to prevent your head being damaged more than it could be. So, a lot of kind of myths about this. A lot of people say, ask me, well, should you relax if you're going to get hit? Should you brace yourself? So I'm going to talk about some of the things you can do when you do see an impending collision coming. First thing you want to do is make sure you're sitting all the way back in your seat. So you want to limit that distance between your body and the seat, because the seat's there to provide you for support. You want to put your head against the headrest and make sure you're looking straight ahead. You don't want to be turned when this happens, not even really looking up. You just want to look straight ahead and place your hands on the steering wheel, but don't grip it. This is a hard thing to do, especially when you know there's an accident about to happen. But if you grip it, you do run the risk of carpal tunnel or fracturing one of your wrist bones. So hands on the wheel, just don't grip, and then brake firmly and brace for the impact. So if you want to find out more, a great website is the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. The website is www.iihs.org. They look at not only car impact safety, but seat and head restraint tests on passenger vehicles. Also, if you want to find out more from the Spine Research Institute of Chicago, is a great resource. You can find them at www.srisd.com. So hopefully this was helpful, and I definitely hope that everybody goes out and checks their head restraints, because like I said, this is one thing you can do to prevent some serious injuries from people that obviously aren't paying much attention as they're out there driving. So if you have any questions, best way to reach me is drdc@compassnd.com, and we will be talking to you soon.